Hey everybody, this is Olga with AskYourSoul.org, and today I wanted to talk about something that's pretty important when it comes to consciously manifesting, and that is figuring out why your manifestation has not come true yet. So I am not a big fan of the word failure because I feel like any failure could be seen as just one step closer towards success. I think that's from some quote I heard a long time ago. But to me, failure is always more of a lesson that can be used and utilized for whatever you're doing in the future. So I much prefer using the word lesson because I feel like that's what failure ultimately is. It's just a way for you to see what works and what doesn't. In any case, Neville has this book called The Power of Awareness, and there is a chapter in here that is literally labeled failure. So I kind of had to use that word, but I just wanted to mention that I'm not a big fan of it. But anyway, regardless, the point of this is figuring out what you could have or should have done differently so that you can manifest in the future. So I'm just going to read this chapter real quick. It's a pretty short one. And I think it does a really good job explaining quote-unquote failure when it comes to manifesting. Okay. This book would not be complete without some discussion of failure in the attempted use of the law of assumption. It is entirely possible that you either have had or will have a number of failures in this respect, many of them in really important matters. If, having read this book, having a thorough knowledge of the application and working of the law of assumption, you faithfully apply it in an effort to attain some intense desire and fail, what is the reason? If, to the question, did you persist enough, you can answer yes. And still the attainment of your desire was not realized. What is the reason for failure? The answer to this is the most important factor in the successful use of the law of assumption. The time it takes your assumption to become fact, your desire to be fulfilled, is directly proportionate to the naturalness of your feeling of already being what you want to be, of already having what you desire. So this is a very important thought, and it's actually in italics, so I'm just going to read it again for you. The time it takes your assumption to become fact, your desire to be fulfilled, is directly proportionate to the naturalness of your feeling of already being what you want to be, of already having what you desire. The fact that it does not feel natural to you to be what you imagine yourself to be is the secret of your failure. Regardless of your desire, regardless of how faithfully and intelligently you follow the law, if you do not feel natural about what you want to be, you will not be it. If it does not feel natural to you to get a better job, you will not get a better job. The whole principle is vividly expressed by the Bible phrase, "You die in your sins." You do not transcend from your present level to the state desired. How can this feeling of naturalness be achieved? The secret lies in one word. You guessed it, imagination. For example, this is a very simple illustration. Assume that you are securely chained to a large heavy iron bench, which does not sound like fun. You could not possibly run. In fact, you could not even walk. In these circumstances, it would not be natural for you to run. You could not even feel that it was natural for you to run. But you could easily imagine yourself running. In that instant, while your consciousness is filled with your imagined running, you have forgotten that you are bound. In imagination, your running was completely natural. The essential feeling of naturalness can be achieved by persistently filling your consciousness with imagination. Imagining yourself being what you want to be or having what you desire. Progress can spring only from your imagination, from your desire to transcend your present level. What you truly and literally must feel is that with your imagination, all things are possible. You must realize that changes are not caused by caprice, but by a change of consciousness. You may fail to achieve or sustain the particular state of consciousness necessary to produce the effect you desire. But once you know that consciousness is the only reality and is the sole creator of your particular world, and have burnt this truth into your whole being, then you know that success or failure is entirely in your own hands. Whether or not you are disciplined enough to sustain the required state of consciousness in specific instances has no bearing on the truth of the law itself. that an assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. The certainty of the truth of this law must remain despite great disappointment and tragedy. Even when you, quote-unquote, see the light of life go out and all the world go on as though it were still day, you must not believe that because your assumption failed to materialize, the truth that assumptions do materialize is a lie. If your assumptions are not fulfilled, it is because of some error or weakness in your consciousness. However, these errors and weaknesses can be overcome. Therefore, press on to the attainment of ever higher levels by feeling that you already are the person you want to be. And remember that the time it takes your assumption to become reality is proportionate to the naturalness of being it. So I think from this excerpt, from this chapter, it's pretty clear that Neville believes with 100% certainty that the only reality, quote-unquote, that exists is the reality that we create, whether we're doing that consciously or unconsciously. In one of my previous audios or videos, I mentioned that I don't necessarily share that viewpoint because I do feel like there are certain things that are like quote-unquote predestined by our higher self or God or whatever you want to call that, which Neville again believes that imagination is God and we are God, so there is no separate Godhead or anything like that. I definitely respect his views, and I do believe that most of what he was teaching is very true and it does work for sure. But I don't know, it just doesn't fully resonate with me when he makes it seem like literally we are the ones who create our reality 100%. So if you're like a big Neville Goddard fan, then you're probably not going to be thrilled about this. But that's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it, disagree with it. You know, it's totally up to you. It's a matter of like what resonates with you personally. So to me personally, even though a lot of what he teaches and says does resonate with me a lot, I feel like if you have done everything you possibly could in order to manifest your desires and it still didn't work, then maybe that was not for your highest good to begin with, honestly. Maybe it's still going to materialize years from now, which happens a lot actually, because let's say when you're a kid and you want to manifest something and as a kid it's so important to you, but it's just not coming true. Like for example, as a kid you want a bike, right? And just either due to your family's money situation or whatever the reason is, you just can't have this bike. But then eventually as you grow up, you can totally get yourself a bike, but it's not nearly as exciting. You know what I mean? But there you go, like that manifestation has easily come true. It just took a while for that to happen. So even though I agree with everything he says in this chapter, the fact that it's very, very, very important to persist in your desire and to keep imagining yourself having this wish fulfilled and to get into the state of being where it feels natural for that manifestation to be here, as if you already have it. Which is, I feel like that's the most challenging part, because when you don't have something, the hardest thing to do is to imagine that you already have it, even though it feels impossible. So yeah, for sure, that could be like one of the main reasons why it's not here. But I'm just saying, I think that another reason could be that maybe there is something better for you out there. Maybe we don't always know what's best for us with our ego. Because most of the time, the manifestations that we want is actually something that our ego wants. It's not even so much our soul, you know? And I just feel like there's still this mechanism at work where your higher self watches over you. And if you are supposed to experience certain things in this lifetime in order to grow and evolve as a soul, then it's still very important for you to experience them. And another interesting thing I often wonder about is the fact that we come upon this knowledge of being able to consciously manifest usually later in life. You know, it's most of the time. I mean, I don't know anyone who as a kid had parents who kept telling him, hey, you can consciously manifest your reality. I'm sure there are some, which is awesome. But for most of us, this is not the type of knowledge that you... Even if you do receive it earlier in life, most of us don't fully understand or integrate it or use it Or by then we're just so disheartened with our reality that it's really hard for us to believe. So it just seems more like magical thinking or something. But once you come to this point in your life where you truly start to believe that this is possible with all of your heart, and you start figuring out how to do this the right way, quote unquote, then this is truly when you do gain more control of your life in so many ways, which is awesome. But still, what about up until this point? Like, why weren't we given this knowledge before? So I'm just saying, before then, something had to take care of us. And in my humble opinion, this is our higher self / God that was handling all this stuff for us and kind of preparing us to gain access to this knowledge so we could actually use it in our lives. So feel free to agree or disagree with me on this stuff, but I encourage you to not get disheartened if your manifestation is not coming true for a long time, because you never truly know. Honestly, you just don't know if this is even for your highest good. It might seem like it at the moment, but then years later, you might look back at it and be like, oh man, I'm really actually glad that everything has worked out in a different way, because this could have been a nightmare, you know? But with all that said, going back to what Neville talks about in this chapter, it is of huge importance to persist with what it is that you want to manifest, to really make it into a discipline of some sort, where you do your imaginal act, or where you focus on your mental diet, you focus on your imaginal act, you truly make it a priority in your life, and you have this complete and utter faith that this is going to work out. And as he mentions in this chapter as well, truly being in the state of the wish fulfilled. So really feeling as if you already have it. That's absolute key. Because as you've probably heard from other videos and audios on Neville, he always talks about how you basically have to believe it to see it, not the other way around. And he also talks about how you would not expect the reflection in the mirror to change before you change yourself looking at it, right? So it only changes once you work on yourself, once you change yourself. All it does is it reflects back to you what you already are. And I feel like that's the key to remember when you're manifesting. Because if you're coming from this place of lack and not having it and wondering when it's going to come into your life and why is it still not working, you know, like going down this whole road of mental hell for yourself, that's exactly what's preventing you from getting that manifestation to begin with most of the time. So yeah, for the most part, I believe that this is all a matter of how much you truly believe that this is possible and it is already a part of your life. But still, I'm not opposed to the idea that if it's truly not for your highest good, that there is some kind of a fail-safe mechanism that is preventing this manifestation to come into your life. So I don't know, that just helps me personally to think of it that way, because then I don't get so hung up on it. Like if I see that it's not coming true forever, then I just assume that this is for my highest good. And because my assumptions come true, my results reflect that. And when I do have like certain manifestation goals, I always make sure to remind myself that either this manifestation will come true or something better. I always think of it as I don't know everything. I can assume that I know what I want and need, but I don't have this bird's eye view of my whole life and what I truly need. So I am open to this intervention from my higher self if there is something better available. And I don't know, I mean, you can take it or leave it, but I feel like that's a really helpful way to look at it, because that way I'm not as hung up on a very super specific manifestation coming true. And then ultimately, I do get something at least as good as what I wanted, or something better. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that because that's what works for me, and give you this reminder that it is super important to assume the wish fulfilled and truly to get into this state of mind where it is fulfilled, and to persist in your assumption and to keep going even if it feels hopeless, even if it feels like it's not working. It's almost like a really, really big test of faith every time you're trying to get this manifestation to come into your life. It's definitely a test of faith, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope this helps you guys, and I would love to hear some really cool manifestation stories or questions you have in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. I'm sending you much love and positive energy. And I just know that you have what it takes to manifest the reality of your dreams. And I really hope that you keep going no matter what, and do not get discouraged. Just learn as much as you can on the topic. Definitely use it as much as you possibly can every single day. And expect miracles, and they shall come into your life. Yeah, I said it. That's damn right. They're coming into your life. Get ready. It's going to be awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. Have an awesome one. Bye.